That always. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. If you please join me in the invocation. Lord, thank you again for our community. Please watch over our residents, our neighborhood during this special time. Please be with those people that are dealing with special things during the holidays. And please help this board to keep moving forward and make the right decisions. And thank you for the residents that are here tonight. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, we'll introduce ourselves. I know most of you are regulars and you're used to this, but we'll start to my right.
Marlon Brownlee, Supervisor 54.
Dave, would you like to go?
Yeah, Dave Nelson, Vice Chairman, Remington.
Rob Fannin, Remington.
Adriana Urbina, District Manager.
Mark Cooper, Property Manager.
And now we'll go to the audience, starting here on my left.
Hi, Marshall Villas. Sorry, the Villas.
Sarah Villas.
Kirby Portland.
And sir, you get to introduce yourself because you just walked in.
Yeah, I'm Scott Taylor.
Hampton, okay. Now, did any of you have anything you wanted to speak about for 3 minutes?
I think we're basically here to get educated about how this board works and hear what we're planning to do.
All right, sounds great.
I'm still looking for that word.
Trust me. Yeah.
Really answer that question?
Yeah, if you have something you get 3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Right now or?
Yeah, right now.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to advocate for the security cameras at the entrance. And I talked to Sabrina about that. And
Mark.
Your name, but we've texted a few times.
Mhm.
I've offered my Wi-Fi to connect them, and I've also offered my help to install them. I spoke last week about the donuts happening at the intersection. I think the cameras could capture that. It could also capture the trash. It's being littered on St. Charles as well as the speakers. I was looking at some of the cameras. Sabrina said, did you say $10,000 per camera or for both cameras?
We had some rough estimates, Mark, that we had in the placeholders in the budget. We had 10,000 for the front facing and 10 for the rear capture. Correct.
I don't know that it would be that much. It depends on, I think our original plans were having to bring in a DVR recorder, which would put in that building, which would mean we have to put doors and windows on that our house. So there's power, but we have to record it, and that's the majority of the cost.
So those were rough numbers as placeholders.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I was just looking and I see cameras for a lot cheaper than that, even nice ones that are, weatherproof and weatherproof. If we didn't want to use my Wi-Fi network, maybe we set up a separate Wi-Fi at my house so it reaches, and then I can't tamper with it either. Then you don't need a DVR, or maybe we even broadcast from the camera to a DVR stored at my house. Once again, we can make it so only you guys can access it.
So you said someone doing donuts with the skid marks out there?
Yeah, it's happened 5 times now. Pretty much every time it's after midnight. The last time was actually.
1:15 last time.
Can you see the car, or have you seen the car?
I know where
The
it's
neighbor that's kitty corner to us, that doesn't live in St. Charles, he has that box truck with his face on it. He said it was a black Infiniti around 2009-ish four-door. He thinks it's a Well, actually, he didn't confirm if it's a teenager.
No, I'm asking you, do you know what car it is?
Exactly, no.
Okay,
Just
do you know what car it is?
I know where it's at.
Where is it at?
It's between Lake St. Charles and where the horse farm is. It's right in there, it's where they're coming in and out of.
Okay. So here's what I want to tell everybody. It doesn't matter if you get the car in the tag doing donuts, you have to be able to identify the driver. And I'm not here to put everybody's down, but that's not our, I mean, I know it's loud and it drives us crazy, but that's Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, okay? We have to be able to identify the driver and everything in order to testify or whatever, that that's him. That means someone would have to swear and affirm their testimony and write a statement, okay? I'm willing to do it. If someone knows the car and sees it, then I will go and watch the car, and when he does it, I will call the sheriff's department and make sure it's handled. But we need to know for a fact which car it is, because it's happened 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, from a law enforcement perspective, would camera footage be used?
No,
But if he does property damage, say he
Yes.
runs up and hits the wall.
Yes.
And we have a captured. image
because
of it,
his insurance would cover it.
Right.
Whose insurance is on that car, if it goes
our
in the
loss.
wall,
That's
yeah,
what really
we would
want to
take their
protect.
insurance. So man, I wish I could give a law studies class, but so if his car hits our wall, which we're afraid of, and when keeping our residents up, we could go after his insurance that's on that vehicle. If we can identify and swear to it that that was the driver, then he would go to jail. He would go to jail and we would go to court and testify against him.
For hitting the wall or go to jail for something.
Well, he's reckless driving, and that's a misdemeanor.
So even if he does no damage and doesn't hurt anyone, he can get arrested. for that.
But a law enforcement officer has to witness that. And it has to be a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Florida, which I qualify.
Well, you know, the house in the corner there is a lot, it's a sheriff deputy.
In,
Right at the sign, his backyard is the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's.
you mean in your neighborhood, Marlon?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but he can't see him. He's got the wall.
He's facing inside, I mean, obviously the property.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to peek over the wall and
Yes.
look. And I don't know his schedule, so
Yeah, I mean, I haven't.
if you could, he literally could go out there and pull him over.
Even off
Yes, even hot duty. You're never off duty.
It literally, there is a race car shop, yeah, in that little alley.
Alright.
There's one there, or it's the horse farm. I was out listening the other night, and I could hear them in a building revving
revving engine.
engine. That's it's a race car.
Lewis and I did
And I could hear them
research on
starting it with the
and
explosion. Pop, 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 pop.
Tampa and the.
Where is that at?
It's right on as soon as you turn on Frankel,
Yeah.
the address is,
The alley, right at the end of our property, there's a long driveway.
Yeah.
Back there.
I sent in the text.
Is it open to the public?
it is
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
If you go on their website, it says it's only by appointment.
Okay, because if it's open to the public, I'll go take care of it tomorrow.
I want to say, just in addition to law enforcement, if we even bring awareness to what cars are doing what, that we can tell next door or people in the neighborhood to keep an eye out for this car, same with package. So where's your house the one that got hit? I'm going to read. Someone in Hamptons got hit with a package stuff just on Sunday. Once again, if we could see video of what car it was, at least we can provide a description to the neighbor.
All right.
I have a question. Do you know that it was definitely donuts? Like, I heard the revving at 1:16 the other morning, and I
Yeah.
think that was just revving.
It was donuts because.
No, I can see the tread pattern.
I know the tread pattern,
Yeah,
but I'm
it's
saying, how
easy.
many times has the donuts happened? More than
5
once,
times.
right?
Because I'm right there at the corner, I'm right next to the sheriff deputy.
And it's always very late at night.
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard it
like
many times in my.
after 1 in the morning, before 5.
The earliest was like the 10:30 PM. One was right at midnight. The last one, the Thursday, when there was the meeting last Thursday, that night happened at 1 AM. And it went on for like.
We have a
5
meeting
minutes.
here Tuesdays.
Oh, well, it
I
was
might
last
just drive
Thursday.
down there and tell them. All right, I may just drive down that road and have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And just say,
It's either there or the horse farm.
yeah, it's either there or whatever, you do it again, we'll take measures, because,
So it's that little back alley between Lake St. Charles?
yeah, she just showed me the address, she has it right here.
Where's the horse farm?
Yep.
They have some buildings back there, because I was out on Thursday night, I heard about one.
I have no problems with them, they, trust me, they
But I can hear
they
them
don't
coming
scare
in
me.
and going.
So anyways,
That area.
going on next, anybody else?
Chairman,
Yes.
yeah, that's a speed shop. That's the shop that I think you're talking about. It has a
Right.
no trespassing sign on there, so I don't think we could go in there unless you can.
No, I'm just gonna go have a conversation with him.
Call make this like.
That's what I'm
Right.
gonna,
Okay, just want to let you know.
I wanna soup up my Jeep Wrangler, you know what I'm saying, Dave?
Right.
All right.
Are we sure it's the same vehicle? Or we don't even
No.
know?
I think it's gonna be several vehicles coming out of there.
Do you think they're like juicing it up and coming here and testing it?
They come out and I can hear them go down 301, I can hear them go up 75.
You
Come
do-
back.
You really hear them on 301 when they make Lake St. Charles Boulevard. And I know the villas have to hear it louder than we do.
What's the right that's behind the village that?
See how-
Hackney is like, because we'll have our eyes open and it is like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and it's just like.
So they're going down Hackney.
You know what, better yet, before I go down there and tip them off, I think we should just call the county.
I was gonna say. if
We'll
I-
just call the
It's
county.
horrible,
The county already knows.
If it's this
We,
week,
I've reported it several times, and I said, can we request, not only from the speeding that we have on Lake St. Charles? He said, yes. And then I said, if you go out there and see the donuts, and, Corporal Hawkins, I think it's his.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's-
I've seen
Yeah,
it.
yes, I've spoken to
can
him,
he come to our board meeting and meet us?
and
It
he
was the
said,
other
we'll have somebody out there on Saturday night. I said, but you have to sit, you know, I know you guys are busy and things are going on. I said, but, I mean, you come out and look at the donuts. Somebody is doing this. But it's Corporal Hawkins who is in charge of our area. And he said, well, I mean, if we have to call him every day, I mean, we'll call him, but I hate to do that. You want a little.
Well, they won't always come out if they're on another.
Exactly, you know.
Yeah,
but-
I'll call them, I'll talk to
Yeah,
them.
but it's Corporal Hawkins, who's in charge of our area. But he only works from like 8 to 5, and he says it's the other, you know, the patrols, night patrols, exactly.
I know the lieutenant very good out here, so I'll call him.
Because if it's that frequent, it won't take them long to catch them.
No, they need to go to jail, so anyways, that's my opinion.
Are we gonna give them access cards for the restrooms? Remember, we were gonna do that so that they would come in more frequently.
Yeah.
I remember we agreed.
Yeah,
on
we had
that.
talked about giving them restroom access so that they can come in. We can give them 24-hour access to the park.
As the chairman of the security committee, I highly recommend that we fully cooperate with the law enforcement.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. I know this. They have been parking in here more frequent doing paperwork. Because I've had run into several of them on the street and I've said, listen, if you need a safe place where someone's not gonna walk up to you, go into Lake St. Charles in front of the club. And they've been in here a lot more.
That's
'Cause when I-
because there's people parking up here, if I'm walking, a lot of times, now, we can tell them, but they hide behind the dumpster. and they're doing whatever.
Ralph, if you're gonna go meet with them, we can give you a couple of passes.
Yeah, I'll take a couple passes and I'll just tell them to come in here.
And that way they can use the restroom and there's a presence here and a reason for them to come in.
We'll have them come there.
Yeah.
The
And they can
only,
use
the
one
only
in
thing
parking
is
lot.
when we bring them in and they see anything, there's not gonna be any gimmies to the residents. Because I remember when, I said it last week, I requested them, I said, please don't write tickets right now. But that's,
Right tickets.
yeah, you're gonna have to write tickets.
If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law.
Right.
You know, I don't care if you live here, if you don't, you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law.
All right.
Right.
In addition to donuts, sometimes the police like St. Charles with their own personal drag strip. I've seen an old white Mustang. Do a couple minutes.
He's moved, actually. I know exactly, very loud, yes, he moved. Thank goodness, it woke me up every day. All right, moving forward, we gotta get this started.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So moving forward, the Strategic Planning Committee.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so tonight, just a little bit of a preamble for some people in the audience. Tonight is a continuation. It's part 2 of our CIP workshop. And part 1 was on November 16th. And during that workshop, we identified the capital improvement projects that we wanted to prioritize for fiscal year 2022, the next fiscal year, the one coming up right now. For the benefit of the audience, perhaps some are here for the first time, there's 2 primary categories of expenses that we collectively have to pay for each year. First is our operating expenses, those contracted expenses, contracted landscaping, on-site staff who perform various functions, the bills for this building, things like that. Those are our operating expenses. Second is our capital improvement projects, more or less any periodic changes to our infrastructure, things like repaving the trail, putting in a new playground, repaving the tennis courts, the basketball courts, things like that. And these expenses are paid for by the assessment that we all pay each year. For each home, that's the $1,120 per year that we spend. So when you add up the total amount that is collected by all those assessments, subtract the amount that's paid for the operating expenses each year, whatever is left over is what we have to spend on capital improvement projects. All right. Now, the cost for our expenses goes up each year. The contract for services, salaries, things like that. And our assessment, on the other hand, has remained flat. And someone has, what year has it changed? 2004. So the amount that we collect from our assessments each year is steady, is flat, it's the same every year, but our expenses go up somewhat each year. And so what happens is over time, the amount of money left over to spend on capital improvement projects is reduced each year. And so as we go forward in time, we get increasingly pinched for the amount of things that we want to do. The amount available for capital improvement projects decreases with each passing year. And the cost to do any of those projects certainly does not decrease as the years go by. And so as a result, again, we're increasingly pinched each year in our efforts to maintain the amenities that we have. Now, in order to facilitate our discussion tonight, which will focus on 5 fiscal years, fiscal year 2023, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we have 3 spreadsheets that we'll be using and making changes to. I was trying to get this all set up as we did for the first workshop. If I have to run up there and do this, then I'm going to do that. The first workshop, excuse me, the first spreadsheet lists our projected expenses. In fact, I'm not even going to pull it up until I have to. Okay? I'm just going to speak for it. Well, I'm going to come to that in a moment, okay? But I'm just going to speak to the different things that we're talking about. The first lists our projected expenses through fiscal year 2027. In the first workshop, the spreadsheet that we had, Mark and Adriana had indicated some assumptions about the expected rate of increase for the different line items in our budget during our planning horizon, okay? And when you aggregate all that up, you can see the total amount of money that we have on operating expenses going forward through the end of our planning horizon. The second spreadsheet lists the capital improvement projects that we'll be focusing on tonight, okay? We'll be discussing them, we'll be prioritizing them. We're going to do this in this year, do this later, not do this, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll be able to see the aggregate costs to do all of the things that we decide to do each fiscal year during our planning horizon. Okay, so you say you want to do this, you want to do this, you want to do this. At the bottom, you see the total cost to do those projects. The third spreadsheet, and last, is a sort of a what-if analysis that takes the total expenses for each year and subtracts that from some different hypothetical assessments levels and highlights whether the total amount that we collect will be enough to pay for all the projects that we're going to say we're going to do within any particular fiscal year. And highlight where we do or do not have enough to pay for the projects we've indicated. And so that's, if you will, where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. If this is what we say we're going to do in any particular fiscal year, do we have enough revenue? Have we collected enough in assessments to pay for the things that we're talking about that we want to do? And if not, then we have to consider some different hypothetical scenarios. Do we want to either reduce the amount of things that we want to do, or do we want to increase the amount of money that we have available in order to do those things, or some blending of those two? Okay, so that's the different components of what we're talking about. Now we're going to focus on
Marlon,
yes.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. Looking at line 140, projected total O&M with increases calculated in, those numbers don't seem to match what we were doing on this.
Okay, so I deliberately wanted to go through and then kind of return back. So Adriana, Mark, do you want to speak to is this the expense spreadsheet you're talking about?
Which one are you looking at?
Line 140 on the O&M expense,
Which I think is good. You kind of put in some increased numbers that are probably more based in reality, but those numbers didn't come over to the what if.
No, literally that spreadsheet, I only got it literally like 45 minutes ago, so I haven't put it into any of these different
Yeah,
spreadsheets yet.
if we're using this as a decision-making document.
So.
Yeah, this one here is just based on my calculation
even
of
have it.
percentage on just the total O&M.
So
Instead of-
basically, that's the premise. If you're okay with those percentages, General, then we should.
Can I ask a question? Just, because I have not looked at the spreadsheet, Adriana, that you sent. Okay, so let me just say that up front, because I literally didn't have the time. Because of the meeting. Sabrina, you're saying that the total amount of those expenses is different than the amount on the spreadsheet?
The O&M projected numbers are fine, but when we were talking about evaluating whether we needed to increase assessments, we did a what if. Right?
Yes.
Right, so I believe this is something that you had created last week.
Yeah.
Okay, I just, if we're going to use this principle for determining whether we need an assessment increase, I just think that our numbers should be accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we can use that one for this meeting.
Okay.
Question I have is the O&M spreadsheet that you sent, is the amount for the total O&M different than the one we used in the last workshop?
Yes,
What is the difference attributable to?
we did it in the total for, instead of doing line by line of just 2% here, 2% there, we did a total of operation and maintenance increase. The first year is based on 8%, 5%, 3%, 3%, and 3%.
So that's overall.
that's
Overall, yes,
Picking it line by line is.
Yeah.
So,
right, and kind of unnecessary. So we just did it as a total based on the previous year O&M. Then we added the 8% for the first year, 5% for the second year, and then 3% for the following 3 years.
does the amount of the total increase on the new spreadsheet exceed the amount of increase
Yes,
on the original spreadsheet?
yes.
Yes,
So the amount left for CIP based on 1,500 is line 141. Which is the number you're after.
I'm sorry,
If you look at the same
I
chart,
haven't looked at the new spreadsheet yet.
141, line 141 gives you what's left over, assuming a $1,500 assessment.
No. What I'm asking is the O&M amount for, let's say, fiscal 2023, is that amount greater than the O&M amount in fiscal 23 in the spreadsheet we used in the last workshop?
Yes,
Okay, and I'm asking, what is that difference attributable to?
More realistic cost of living.
Because the first time we did it based on certain line items,
Yes.
and there were certain line items that had no escalation. This is based on the overall increase percentage for the entire operations budget as a percentage of increase.
So
That's the
you're saying
difference.
that in a sense, the last spreadsheet was
Let's add.
incomplete?
Less accurate, I would say, and incomplete.
We, even since January, we've had major increases in different expenses that wasn't reflected in that first number, correct?
Yeah, we tried to do certain line items. That was a detailed version, and some line items had no escalation, which is unrealistic. And rather than go through all that work, we just decided to do, let's do a percentage increase on the overall operations budget.
Okay, I guess the reason I'm asking the question is because, and that's why I use the word.
It throws your numbers off.
What's that?
It-
Yeah,
it'll
the
throws your
off.
numbers
But also, it isn't so much, this is going back to my math classes, right? If you go line by line and you say 1 and 1, the total is 2. It doesn't matter whether or not you say 2 or you say 1 plus 1, they're both 2. So it isn't a function of the fact that you go line by line that makes it less accurate. It's the fact that you're saying some of those line items didn't have an escalation at all. So that's why I'm saying it was in a sense incomplete. Did that affect fiscal year 2022?
No.
No, because we've already gone over that. So that
No,
one,
I'm saying that the expenses for fiscal 22, did those change as well? The expenses?
No, that's cast in stone. Can't
The
change
budget's
that.
already been established.
yeah, that's 2022, and then we went to 20,
Well, now we're gonna do 23 to 27.
yeah, 23 to 27. This is the problem. So I don't want to cut into your time, but here's the problem. We're all speculating 2023 to 2027,
We have no idea.
and we have no idea.
Okay, so,
So is the
here's what
board,
I'm gonna propose then, okay, because again, it kind of throws the what if
I
part
like,
of this analysis.
I like proposals, just spit it out.
Okay, so all we're gonna be able to do tonight then is basically go through the CIP worksheet and prioritize the things we want to do
Right,
in each of the fiscal years.
right.
We will not be able to go through the exercise of seeing what assessment levels or any mass in terms of how much is left over, because the expense number is different than the numbers we used in the last meeting.
Right.
Okay, so if we're okay with that, then that's fine. I literally, I don't have time to do spreadsheets and throw them in and change all the formulas in, during the, on the fly.
May I ask one?
Yes.
So if I'm understanding right, we're never gonna have an exact number, even for what we approved for 2022. We may end up spending and finding out, oh my gosh, that's a lot more, and we're gonna have to pull back and not do that project. So we may end up at the end of 2022, beginning 2023, when we do that budgeting, with a whole different scenario than what we're expecting. That's just the way it is. That's
Okay,
how-
so, yeah, I think we're
I'm
saying
trying
the
to make a
same.
point.
Yeah,
So when we get to that mindset, then what the best use of our time together, from my perspective, is prioritizing what we want to do and realizing that we may have to shift. And that's just the way it is.
So when you say shift, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but there's no way to pick what we're gonna do until we figure out if we're gonna raise the assessments or we're looking at bond again.
Well, that's a valid point. I guess what we have to do is if we say, man, that trail is our number one used amenity and it's gonna cost close to $1 million or 650, whatever that number we think it might be. We say that is a priority, and if we have to get funding somehow, then that's what we do. Then we look at, okay, we put that as maybe we come up with ABC. Like A is, no matter what, whether we have to borrow, beg, or steal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we have to borrow the money or bond the money or whatever we have to do, then we're not gonna not do that project because it's a safety hazard and it's a priority. We can make it a B-level project where we really want to do it, but if we have to shift funds to do the A-level projects, we're going to go ahead and do that. So we could decide as a team, we got A, B, and C level projects, and that might help us because we don't have real numbers
Well, I agree with you totally. So here's I'm gonna tell you right now, the trail.
Yeah.
We're all in agreement with the trail. The trail's over $600,000,
Easy.
Easy,
easy.
easy.
It's probably more than that by the time they get out here and start cutting down trees and roots.
Tree, arborist, barrier.
And I guess what I want to say, instead of wasting our supervisor Marlon's time, if we all agree that the trail is the number one thing, then we need to really decide
How do we fund it?
how we fund it.
Absolutely.
Can I ask something about the trail? We walked it yesterday, we walk it almost every day. And, you know, people have gone out and marked, there were only 12, maybe 13.
Yellows.
That are marked with yellow. It's not in that bad a condition. I don't know why, you're gonna say, we're looking at almost $500,000.
It's in horrible shape.
If you ask.
If you get over, it's
people
in-
riding bikes,
Yeah,
they
it's
can
in horrible. I almost fell yesterday running. I run it all the time. And I'm just saying, there's oranges marking the worst. But it's
It's
sinking in some
disintegrating.
places. It's rising in other places. And when we did a survey through the villas and everywhere, everybody that's a part of paying the assessment, it was 98%, right?
Yes.
The number one amenity here that's used.
Okay, but I'm saying, when you're doing like A, B, C, D, you know, looking at stuff, I mean, can we find out, I mean, how many people actually use the trail? We do, and I'm sure a lot of people do. We use it almost every day. We do, and we've seen people with baby carriages and they're on bikes and.
The problem is,
but-
if you walk it, you do better. If you run it, it's harder. If you ride a bike, it's different. Or if any of the other stuff you do.
But I would
It is,
say,
it's the most used amenity in this community.
Yeah.
Not by the village.
If I may,
What I want to point out for all of you is that the villas are 90% retired people. There are, out of 40 homes, there are 10 people who use those trails and they walk. And you're talking about us taking on an additional assessment to pay for those trails that the majority of the people in the villas don't use. The
Yeah.
majority of the people,
You're next.
there are 6 families who work in the villas. The rest of us are retired. There are 6 people who use the pool. There are 10 people who use the trails. And 34 homes are retirees out of the villas. You're talking about adding on $300 to our CUD rates so that you can run those trails.
No, that's
And we have 40,
no, we're not talking about $300.
really?
No, yeah. I don't, what assessment are you looking at
We're
$300
paying 1120
with everybody else?
with everybody else.
Yeah.
Where you just raised us 2 years ago, $500.
Right, well,
$620 actually.
right. So if you do the math and everything, it wasn't if you go monthly, what was it? $10 a month?
You raised us $620 a year.
you look at the square footage, I mean, what's.
No, you went 1120 divided by 12 is what?
Yeah.
$10 a month.
No.
So what is it a month?
No, it's $100.
I know they were paying, but okay. I know that. I understand that, but that was the builder. We're in difficult times right now. You have to understand that.
The builder assessed based on our frontage.
But the problem is, some of your places in there are as big as some of the houses in here.
Not the villas.
You don't have 3 bedrooms in there?
The biggest house we got is 17.
May I speak?
You're getting off track, Chairman.
I know. So hold on, I want to take, so we raised them $31.
If we move it up to.
Oh, if we went to
She's saying
$15.
$31.
It's $1 a day, right? Okay.
when we did the assessment, we didn't have a methodology, and you're right, when the builder put it in, he was looking at frontage because of utilities. We paid off that debt, but the usage of the amenities is available, no matter whether you have 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, it doesn't matter, it's an availability to the amenities. Because you can say, well, that house has 5 kids, that house has 2 kids, so they should pay less. Well, you can't do it that way. You have to base it on the availability now. All we're taking care of here is the amenities, which make our neighborhood beautiful. You can't buy the neighborhood with these amenities. So it is a big bite that you all had to like accept, but at the same time, what we found out from our methodology process is it was inaccurately assessed from the get-go. So if those were built when they were built and the assessment was done properly, everyone would have same access to the amenities and pay the same price, which is what happened.
And that's what he said when he came in here. But what I was saying is, they said 1,700. Some of the houses in here were 1,700, is what he said. Yeah, that size. And that's what we came up to. And hold on. And he said, this is more of an amenity thing for everybody to use.
Next square foot.
And he said, this is the company that we were way behind. And that everybody should be equal.
Right. And that basically, it may be difficult, and I understand it's frustrating for the villa owners. At the same time, that's water under the bridge from where we're going now.
Yeah, I mean, that's been done. And unfortunately, everything has gone up tremendously.
Unfortunately, you're getting ready to raise it again. I can hear you talking about it. You talk about taking out 600 or closer to $1 million to fix the trail. You're getting ready to raise them again. Pardon me.
If it's up to me, yes.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. We have to.
It hasn't been raised since 2004.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marlon.
I just wanted to address one of the questions that you.
Okay,
Understand that the.
you'll be back?
Dave, we can hear you.
Can you
Marlon,
hear
sorry.
me, Dave? Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. The amenities are the amenities for the entire community. The villas and the, 785 or so residents in this side of the community, if you will. So this for the entire community.
I understand.
The survey that we did in 2017 or 18, this is what he's referring
17.
to when he speaks to the fact that 98% of the residents of the entire community value the trail as the #1 amenity in the community and in terms of usage. Okay. So when we're prioritizing the different capital improvement projects that we want to do, obviously the needs of the many, if you will, okay, in a sense, we say outweigh the needs of the few, sounds like Star Trek here, if you will, or whatever. But I would ask you this question in return. It's somewhat rhetorical, if you will. I understand the numbers that you just cited. You said 40 homes and 34, and we're saying that, if you will. But if out of the 785 plus 40, if 98% of those people, that's say 700 plus, if you will, the value of the trail is the #1 amenity. Would we then say that 30 people will say override that? No, that's not going to be the case. That's in a sense the kind of conundrum, if you will. If we're going to say no, the trail is not the #1 amenity in terms of the way we prioritize things, we're saying in a sense, if I were to answer you directly, that the 30 is going to outweigh the 700 plus.
You're telling me that all 700 people are going to be happy to increase their CDD?
I'm saying that.
No, ma'am, I'm gonna tell you right now, no one's gonna be happy. But I'm not happy that peanut butter went up 5% this month. You know what I'm saying? And this is the hardest thing for this board to do. That's why we're looking at 2 options. One, going back and taking a loan and paying that way, and then we're all back under a bond or whatever, again, right? Looking back on it, and I wasn't on the board then, but that was the goal of the board in the past, was to pay off the bond. Most CDDs, almost all of them are in debt because they keep taking out loans to repair things. We're the only CDD in Hillsborough County that I know of that has paid off their CDD
Probably in many counties.
in many
Yeah.
counties. But I know for a fact in Hillsborough, we are still, if, let's just say we're at 1120, you are absolutely the lowest in all of Hillsborough County, Pasco County, and Manatee County. If you went to 1500, that, I'm not saying that's what it's gonna be. I'm just telling you what this supervisor would think. You're still the lowest by thousands of dollars.
Can you tell me how you go about the process you go through to raise the CDBs?
We would vote on it,
Just the vote of this board raises.
right? Just like when we raised it on the villas. When we had that special meeting.
But we didn't just pick a number and just do it. We got the methodology that brought us to that conclusion. And so, you know, there's the ultimate decision you make as a homeowner. Well, I don't want to live here, then I have to pay that. That's your choice.
Or you can go to some.
And you can vote us out. And that's your choice as well. The issue for us is we're trying to meet the needs of all the constituents of this community. And you are 40 homes in that, so we respect that as equally as we do. But like you said, the 40 homes, when we have a survey that says 98% of the people find that as the number one amenity, we can't ignore that. Because we have vocal people here, a handful of vocal people saying, no, we don't want you to do that. So even though you're vocal, we have to still look at the big picture. And it's hard to do. It's, you know, we're gonna make people happy, make people mad, either way. We're not gonna make everyone happy. And
I mean, we've already made you mad. I mean, it's, and this is why this job is
but
thankless.
you're welcome
You know,
to
it's,
see if you want to try.
yeah,
it.
it's-
not-
We're not gonna make it county government.
yeah, it's a thankless job. And I don't want to raise, I don't think any of us do. But because we pay it as well, but we're stuck.
This gentleman wants to say something.
Yeah.
And he's had his hand up several times and nobody's recognized him.
Well, we will when we get a chance. And I'm in charge, okay? So, go ahead.
On that survey, you're quoting 97% or 98%. How many of the homes responded to that survey?
Oh, we'd have to pull that
It was
back.
back before the methodology. It's been a
How many
long time.
people responded?
Were we given a chance
Go ahead, I'll look it up.
to respond? I
Yes.
remember it was a pretty good response because when you do that type of thing,
It was a big,
It's bigger than we've ever done.
It's bigger than
I
every-
will toss this out though. if I may.
we gotta hurry though.
Yeah, because we're already.
Yeah.
I will toss this out as well, having said that. Whatever the number is, it certainly wasn't like 2, it was a reasonable number. That is, we do have numbers,
Well, yeah, but you're saying 700 and I
okay,
call
so
it BS.
just.
no,
as-
I
just
don't
as-
think 98%
Of
of
700,
700
no, no.
of those that.
Exactly.
respond.
He's saying that we're 30 people or whatever to 700. And it's not. that-
Yeah, but see, here's, okay, let's just move on. Here's the thing, everybody's equal, okay? This is the task of the CDD board. We have to make difficult decisions when you step in here. Now, we all decided to do it, and we all raised our right hand and swore to do it. Trust me, I don't want people not to like me when I run across the trail or I'm walking or biking with my family. I get stopped every day about this, this, and this. And I take it because guess what? I raised my right hand and swore that we would do our best job that I could do or they could do. And that's the bottom line. The fact is, where we are in America right now and with the cost of everything, it's inevitable. Sorry, it's inevitable. We've got to come up with something. Even if it's not the trail, the pool is coming up due for resurfacing. And we even brought it up 2 meetings ago about putting a savings account aside. So we would, if we raise it now, I promise you, I don't want to come back in 3 years or 5 years and say, hey, we got to raise it again. Because the average in Hillsborough County and Fishhawk, Rivercrest, all of them, they raise it every 3 years. They've done it. We've had them research it. We haven't raised it since 2004.
Four.
So I think we have a great track record. People are gonna have to just hang with us, you know, it is what it is. But we haven't even brought up a motion to raise it yet.
Is everybody mad about the gas going up as well?
Yes, I'm sure they are.
Are you mad about the meat in the store going up? Are you mad about that too?
Yes, sir, when you're retired, it's a big factor.
And it's not fair. It really isn't. Go ahead, we gotta go quick.
Yeah, it's two comments. One is, what if we did the trail in gravel, would that save costs, or even repair sections in gravel?
It won't sustain.
Okay.
It'll wash away.
It'll go away.
The other question is, could we do stuff, so if, like, say we had a food stand, or we had paddle boards that people could rent, or we have that limitation on how many guests you can bring to the pool, what if we charge a fee for you to bring more guests, we generate a profit doing stuff like that?
That has actually been looked at, and we have sold concessions at the pool. We went through 2 years of COVID and we couldn't do that.
But let's say we put out paddle boards that people could rent, or like.
Well, we would have to purchase them.
Once a year, I wanted to have a party with like 20 people, or even 10, instead of the 2 extra guest limit. If I have to pay $100 for once a year for a party, I would gladly pay $100 because that party is important to me. And I can have all of my friends or birthday party over, and that's the way for you guys to make $100.
That was never, we would never have enough to make.
We don't have enough rentals to,
What's the average rentals we've had on the best year?
Well, since COVID, we had to bring down our budget to 500 for the year. We maybe
It doesn't-
had
it doesn't
about
even make a
25,
dent.
26.
In a good year, we make $1,500. You know?
Oh, we have good years of about 2,500.
But that's, even if you did the $100, 500, that's 5,000, that's not gonna make it in. It's capital.
however, I agree with you, is even if we go through these, those things should still be implemented down the road.
To help reduce the other.
Yeah, help to reduce the number, you know, I agree with that. That's not a bad idea. It's just not gonna cover this.
And if we don't protect our amenities, the value of our property will all go to hell.
That's the bottom line, right there.
Whether you use the trail individually, if that trail is a hazard and we get sued, we all lose. So we just, you know.
If someone falls out there and sues, it's, you
It's on us.
can kiss 1,500, you'll see 2,500, or you'll see something else to cover it.
Do you see the girl in the photo? She has MS, she walks it every day.
Yes.
Worried for her,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, I talked to her,
It's difficult.
she complains about the trail all the time to me.
Yeah, I saw her yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, going to the CIP, knowing that the villas, which we have people and, we had that big jump and we have not had any improvement. The last,
Fence.
we had to, we had a member, well, the fence, yes, thank you very much, but just something as simple as decorations. You know, we had to ask, well, what about the villas? You got 2 little.
Well,
children.
here,
No, let me finish, please, Chairman.
okay, hurry.
I would like, there's lighted fountains. We have 2 ponds within the villa. When at the entrance, when you come in, you know, from Frigel or Lake St. Charles, we have that big pond, and then we have one within the back of the building. We would like to request some funds from the CIP just to get a lighted fountain. Why can't we have the aesthetic like there are in other areas? The villas are not getting, and we are paying the same amount of money that these beautiful homes are. I mean, it was our choice, you know, to live in villas, and we're happy. We're a wonderful community with yours. But where is our voice to say, why can't we have that? And that's what I want to approach. I want to put it on the agenda saying, we want lighted fountains in the front pond, which is on Frigel and Lake St. Charles Boulevard, because that's where people come in. And it was something so simple. A resident had to say,
All right, let
you know,
Let's speak up.
If you we had a request this week and you requested it last week. We have recorded that request.
Okay.
Understand that we've got 6 pages of projects that we need to fund. And lighted fountains will be on this list.
And backwards.
But this, yeah, backboard and dog parks and trails and pool and roof and fencing and walls. All of that is in this CIP. But if we can't get to this, we're gonna be running these meetings again and again, and not getting anywhere. We've got to figure out what are the priorities of the community, the have to haves and the want to haves. We've got to quantify them, we've got to map them out over a multi-year strategy. And we have to decide, is 11,820 a year per home enough to fund both operating and maintenance and CIP? We don't think it is, but we've got to go through this project, this process, so that we even know what dollar numbers we are talking about. We've spent almost an hour today. We were supposed to get through this and start
But
putting
we're not
numbers to
going
paper,
to.
and it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
And so we're gonna have to have meeting after meeting after meeting of this elected board that gets paid $200 a month to do what we do, because we need to protect this community. And we understand everybody has their priorities, but if we don't get to work on this, this community is gonna go to hell, because we are not doing what we have been elected to take care of. You know, and I'm sorry, but we've heard the request, we've written it down, we will consider it as we look at all of the competing demands for our money. We gotta do it.
Next.
So, okay. So again, for tonight, we're just going to focus on 7 and just focusing on the CIP projects, basically the same ways we did last meeting for fiscal 22, this time looking at a few subsequent years. Do we want to do it the same way we did last time? Just go down in sequential order from top to bottom?
Yes,
Would it be
When
helpful
we-
to use the ABC?
just go down.
I have a
Well,
suggestion.
the second,
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Are you okay with the assumptions of the operation expenses? That 8% generally, 5%, 3%, 3%?
I
As a
have
board?
not even had a chance to look at it, so I don't know that I can commit to that.
I think that's pretty adequate.
It's more accurate than where we were.
Then we need to be on the conservative side and
Absolutely.
give us some cushion so that if anything worse were to happen, we projected it and we're prepared for it.
And if less.
Chairman,
Correct.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's one
And-
thing.
and the question is 8% increase, and you're saying for O&M and our operations, 8% increase each year?
No, just
8, 5, and
2023.
3.
Okay, 2023, 8%, okay.
And the way they said it, Dave, so if you didn't hear it, it goes down actually.
Yeah, you can see it on line 140, Dave.
Okay,
C5.
I got it.
What I would like to,
Can I finish? As I go forward, Adriana does have some information about loans, if you're interested in that, because that could save you from having to pick through every single project, if that's the route you're going.
One question.
I- Yeah.
Oh, do you have a comment?
just going back to the original point,
If
if
we
we
don't,
do that,
we have to spend the meeting.
then I would like to still
I
do
can't keep
a
coming. 3 times.
post-mortem at the end of the fiscal years and see where we've exceeded or fallen short of the projections that we've talked about. So that we can see whether or not we're running ahead or running behind as we're going through the years. Right, you know, I know that, and I understand your point in terms of, yes, you've essentially just did 8% at the bottom. But more or less, that what that means is each line is 8%. I mean, that's just transit property math, it's called. So it's just 8% on every line item going across. Now, for example, I know that we're not doing necessarily 8% increase in salaries. Okay, so some of those line items presumably are increasing at a faster rate than 8%. And some of them are less than 8%, but we're just gonna apply a 8% to every line item all the way down. But I want to do a postmortem at the end and see where we ran ahead or ran behind that 8% before we go into the next year. And just do that each subsequent year. Because I don't want to just take a blanket number that's just a big number, and then it's just a whole lot of, and well, are we behind? Well, something.
All right.
So that's one.
I understand.
I lost my train of thought. Can you ask your question? I'm gonna have a second question, but I'm sorry. It refers to the other point that you.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. We just have to go with what we have.
And if
If we fall short, we'll have to,
we've got money for CIP. If we've underestimated O&M, we have to scale back CIP. We cannot get paralyzed in analyzing every single line. We've got to move forward with some of these numbers.
and I know we voted on the 5-year plan, but I mean, honestly, guys, it may have to shorten up. It might have
Well,
to
we do
go.
a true up every year, Mo. I mean, we do. And so you can look at. the
We're
budget.
limited. We have to all realize we're limited. I mean, we're handcuffed. I mean, and no one here on the board is going to raise this thing, or even if we take a bond, it's gonna be astronomical because we have the villas and stuff like that. We consider everybody. Everybody is considered.
And may I make a question? I know you're gonna talk about whatever the loan process is, and there are fees involved in that everybody has to pay for, so that you have to be cognizant of that. The other option is you raise it less than what you really want to because of the resistance. And then other communities will do something called a special assessment for a specific project, and then people are hit with a big lump of money all at once. I would rather, let's just theoretically say we raised our fee to $1,500 a year. Right now, we're paying $93.33 a month. If you take 1120 divided by 12, if we went to 1,500, it would raise it another $31.67 a month. I would much rather pay that than a big lump of sum I have to pay to the community for a big project that wasn't expected. So you have to look at, we only have the funds that come from those fees. It's not, and you were right, we could generate a little, but selling snacks for $1 is not gonna pay the big chunks of money that we need.
It's not gonna stop a special
And
assessment.
with gas going on, everybody else's expenses are going up in all areas. It does the same to the CDD. So we can't operate off of 1120, and we've been doing that since 2004. Well, I have been operating on the same 1120 in my house. You have to have some other way, and yet, my car is in the shop right now. So whatever that costs me, I gotta pay it because I have to use my car. So I wasn't expecting it, but that's what happens. So I think you all have to take that into consideration. That that's the same thing with this budget, and every single board member lives here and wants to look at it like it's their own budget. But we have to make decisions, and we're really doing the best we can with the information we have. And Mark is telling us that things are going up even as we're speaking, $6,000 on that one quote just for that first section of the trail. And how long was that? They quoted that.
Since April.
April, and we're
April
in,
to this
we're in
month.
December.
Mhm.
So $6,000 wasn't even a year. And it's gone up.
That's the second bid, it's gone up $6,000 in less than.
So to think that we're gonna be able to pick a number and work with it and be accurate is not realistic. But on
Well,
the
here's
other hand-
another thing, everybody's missing the point. Let's say we raised it tonight to 1,500. It's still not gonna cover what we have to do. It's not. That's the shocker. It's not going to cover it. And that's where I think we're gonna sit here and we're gonna go line by line, and I'll tell you guys right now, I think that's a waste of our time. I really do. Because we need to decide, A, what the assessment's going to be, or B, if we have to do both.
So I'll stop, but I wanted people to understand that those are our only options, is to raise it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, reality is hitting.
But I still think you need to show to people, you're gonna say we're gonna go close to $400 more a year. What are we going to get for that increase? Show us.
We're
what
going
the
to, that's what
increase is.
we are. We're going to improve the amenities that we have now.
and it needs to be where it's presented.
Right.
And there's only a handful of people, unfortunately, I cannot imagine where we have over 800 houses.
Well, some
and
people
you
are
have how many
participating
people
right
here? You know,
But the sad thing is it's,
There are other public hearings that have to be done.
yeah, it's,
yeah,
process.
you need to have it where people say, because the only time you hear people.
here's the simple
complain is
fact
when-
of it is,
When you raise the price, that's the only time you hear the backlash. You need to be proactive and say, hey, you know.
But that's what
I.
that's-
This is what we're gonna do, people, look at what you're getting.
I know, but this is,
Every month.
we do this every month.
This
Here's-
a website, excuse
Go.
me, Rob, this meeting alone was advertised at least 6 times on our app, legally advertised in the newspaper, and this is what we've attracted.
Exactly.
So that's all we.
But a lot
can
of
do.
people have accepted it. In my neighborhood, I talk to my neighbors constantly. We have 64 homes, and I talk to them on regular basis, and they're like, no, we accept it. We knew it was coming.
So I think you need to look at where we're coming from. I'm not making excuses or anything else, but if you do this to $250, bear in mind that in 2 years' time, we will have had an increase of over $800.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the thing that hurts, and I don't think any one of you would have gotten that kind of raise in 2 years and taken it cities out.
Well, it would be in 4 years, but I just want you to know, trust me, that weighs on me.
Thank you very much.
That weighs on me. Trust me. You can ask my wife. I say, but we have the villas with mostly retirement, and I've had, I know these board members. I know Jenny has been on this board forever, and Dave, and they have bled for this community, and we appreciate it.
No, I don't think so.
But you have given up time with your families and to come up with difficult decisions. And it is a hard decision. But to answer your question simply, we have to keep, like Supervisor Peacock said, we have to keep our amenities up. We have to.
Oh, and we're not arguing that. It's just that we want to be brought up to the standards that Lake St. Charles has.
Well,
We're stepchildren down there, guys.
well, here's the thing you forget. We look at the villas.
I don't see you now.
Yeah, I don't see you that, but
Well, that's how we feel.
okay, but you shouldn't, because the villas is a community. I live in Remington. Remington is a community in Lake St. Charles. Our circle is very tight. We don't have Christmas lights on our sign. We have Lakeside, they have no Christmas lights. Nobody does. And I'm telling you, if we had more neighbors come in here, they go, hey, if the villas get Christmas lights, why don't we have Christmas lights?
Exactly. They need to be vocal. And that's.
But we can't afford Christmas lights for everybody.
Thank you.
That's why we put them at the front of Lake St. Charles. You're a part of Lake St. Charles, the neighborhood. You are a community of Lake St. Charles, like Remington, Lakeside, Kensington, Hampton, everybody.
Lexington.
In Lexington, I mean, in Cambridge, I can name them all, but we're all part of Lake St. Charles. Lake St. Charles should look nice in the beginning, so everybody says, hey, I want to live here. If you wanted to sell your house or your townhome or whatever, someone needs to be attracted to it. But everybody has to realize we're not all gonna get what we want. There's a lot of things I want, I would never bring it to the board to get it, because it's not gonna happen. So with that being said, we have to figure out what we're gonna do tonight. Because, I mean, this is taking
They're
way
not
too long.
specific projects, this is overall.
I think we just need to say overall. And honestly, I don't understand why we can't do this on a regular meeting if we're not accomplishing anything tonight.
Well, usually because on our regular meeting, we would have regular discussions and then we would make it twice as long. That's why we try to.
But
shorten it up
I
the time.
think we should move to our regular night and just hammer this out.
Stay-
Agreed.
I just think these added things, maybe we get more people so more people understand. But, yeah, I know, it's just wishful thinking, but anyways. What do you think? I mean,
Well, yeah, and I don't want to denigrate the comments because they're valued, but we do have a section of the meeting that is 3 minutes per homeowner. Because y'all elected us to make the decisions, good, better, and different. And what happens is we don't get to spend the time we need to actually do the work. So whether we work on this individually at home and we come back at the next meeting more prepared to start plugging in money, dollars and arguing about what needs to happen when, or if we take the strategy of just choosing a number for the assessment increase and going that route, we're gonna talk this to death if we don't start.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna throw it out and then y'all tell me, we honestly need to say, what are we gonna do with the assessment before we plug in numbers?
But if we do that, then before it becomes real, we plug in all the numbers and we can prove that those numbers are valid. Because I hear what they're saying, and I've said it from the beginning, I thought it should be fact-based as much as we can.
I agree with
Plug
that.
in the numbers. This shows that if we don't raise the assessment to X number of dollars, we can't do this stuff. So before it becomes a true increase, we're gonna have numbers on this multi-page document that everybody can see. These are the projects, these are the projected dollars, these are the projected operating expenses, and this is why. It's not just gonna be a number grabbed from the air. We might have to start off that way, let's grab $1,500, but we're gonna have it all where you can look at the numbers and see why. It's not gonna be just because it's a nice round.
all right.
I want to make a
Quick.
motion that we entertain raising the assessment to 1,500, just so we have somewhere to start. And look at the priorities, the trail, securing the neighborhood, and I guess the pool.
Cameras, pool, roof.
Cameras, pool, as our priority projects, those 4, unless I missed one, if anybody has heartburn over that. Those are our priorities, and we see what we can do with that.
And you mean by entertaining, though, we have to clarify, just, this
I'm
is a
throwing it
what
out
if,
there, but I know
is
that
this
it's
is a what if,
hypothetical.
hypothetical. All right.
Hypothetical, so we can work through the numbers.
You said camera, pool, trail, and what was the fourth project?
Securing the neighborhood. And for fun, put in costs for fountain for the villas, the front fountain.
Just lighted fountains in the.
One
Oh.
lighted fountain at the front.
Well, before we get to that, okay, put it in there and we'll discuss it, but the water levels make it big, huge
Do
thing.
you understand if they go to do the project and the experts say you don't have enough?
We need a second for discussion.
Second,
Not for a
Not so.
lighted fountain. We're not talking about irrigation. It's just a lighted.
Do you know the fountain has to pull water up
and it has to be so deep,
it has to have a certain depth because.
And it has to have electricity.
electricity, yes.
An electricity system.
All right, Marlon, let's go,
We have
because
electricity
this
because
has
we
been
got-
seconded,
We've got our.
Yeah, I second
use
it.
your gavel.
yeah,
All
a
in favor?
second.
Any discussion?
Hold on,
Discussion. I'm not pushing up for words and so. Dave? Dave,
Yeah, what did you say?
you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm asking, because about 3 months ago, and again, we can change, obviously, we can pivot or whatever. But 3 months ago, this was exactly what we said we didn't want to do. And I'm harking back to Dave, because I think he said we need to decide what we want to do and then figure out how to pay for it. We did not want to pick an assessment number, even as a hypothetical exercise, and then work from there.
Can I answer that?
Please.
I think he asked me the question, so just to clarify, I think can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, we need to figure out what our costs are. And so it seems like the only way we can kind of figure that out is put in a number and then figure out what it costs. And if it's different than that, if it's 1,400, it's 1,350, whatever it takes to fix our major problem areas, then that's what it will be. It'll based on the costs of what it's required for us to have.
That was what I meant, not that we would pick 1,500 and go with it, but we're using it as a vantage point to do this exercise. And then if it comes up 1,300, if it comes up 1,275, whatever comes up.
Yeah.
And to answer about 3 months ago, and in 3 months, we have not accomplished anything in regards to this project, this formulas that we're doing. Our timeline needs to begin in March. We need notices, legal notices, we need legal counsel involved. We need to get a move on it and make a decision so that we can get the process started to make it official for next tax year's assessment.
So I made a motion,
I second.
we had a discussion. We need to vote, and I have a suggestion for the chair. We do have 3 minutes for public comment at the beginning, and we hold to that and we get our work done. Because we can't not do this. We've gone 3 months and not accomplished it. So if we have this topic on another meeting, you have to stick to it and have the board make motions and seconds and discussion and move forward.
Marlon,
Because I think if you present.
we gotta go to Marlon.
No, I just want to make sure. So what we're gonna do then, we're gonna do 1,500 as a hypothetical, if you will. Basically, each of us will go between now and the next regular meeting
Yes.
and work through the projects fitting within that 1,500 framework. And then at the meeting, I'm just making sure I'm understanding what we're gonna do. And then at our next meeting in January, whatever the date is, we will basically, at that point, come to an agreement in terms of the line by lines.
Yes,
It's within the 1,500s. You
Yes.
said 1,500, but you did it this way and you did it, but you did it this way and then.
right. We all need to be on the same page.
So we will
Let's do the hypothetical at 1,500 and let's just everybody work on it and you come in and we go to the 3 minutes and then we go straight to this in our regular meeting and we go, yes, no, yes, pass, go forward, sideways, or whatever.
Okay, so,
And then we'll hear what she has with taking a loan.
You don't want to hear that in advance.
so.
Well, maybe.
Okay, so if we, so we're gonna take this spreadsheet and basically each of us is gonna do, what we did, but it's just gonna be within the framework of 1,500. And at the next meeting, we'll basically go through this exercise here line by line and true up, make sure we're all in agreement in terms of those lines. That's what we're gonna do at the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, I'm just clarifying what we're saying.
May I have a suggestion for something? Excuse me.
Hold
No,
on.
I'm just clarifying what we're doing.
All right,
It's
Miss-
hypothetical, I just wanna make sure we're agreeing.
Could we please have an updated version of this? We have
I was gonna say.
2022 taken care of, which we did at our last meeting. The updated O&M. So that we can know what numbers we need to move around, because we made a lot of movement in getting 22 set up. But I don't think any of us have the spreadsheet that shows that
Okay, so I will update the CIP. So we're okay for now
for now.
with these percentages. I'll put that as the O and M, and then the actual CIP will be reflected, and then you guys can work off of that.
All right.
Then that gives us.
And I would like to, Jenny to amend her thing, hypothetical 1,500, and that everybody gets the updated spreadsheet and we do our homework.
That's an action item, but I'm fine if you want me to.
Well, I just wanted in there, so everybody, because when we come in the next meeting, it's gonna be boom, boom, boom. And unfortunately, I like to hear from that, well, we have to go to this. We
So I
have to
a
get it
question
done.
For Adriana, would you please print mine in color and I'll pick them up at the clubhouse?
Yes, and, yeah.
Of course.
So will we be privy to this on the website to whatever?
Okay, good question.
For the next meeting?
How about we print so many if the residents want it and stuff?
Yeah, if they want,
Yeah,
we'll have, we
we'll
can
make
print
it.
them out, we
Alright.
can come and request a
Just
share,
come
but
in and request one and she'll print it. I don't think she'll print it.
currently right
I
now, we have them available on the website. The CIP plan is
And that
on
way
there.
we could go to the residents
So,
and say, you know,
we
we're
gotta
going
vote
up
on
almost
this.
$400 a
Mhm.
year, you guys
Okay.
need to be
So
involved with it.
there's a vote on, a motion on the
Yes.
floor, a second. It's not, it has been amended. You amended it, Adriana.
Yeah.
Could you read it back, please? Now we're ready.
The motion was amended to have the spreadsheets updated and copies provided to all supervisors for next month's meeting.
And all residents that we can.
No,
go and-
you can come in and request a public records request
Yes.
because not all the residents are gonna need it. And that's a waste of paper. But
Well, no, if I get one copy, I'll.
he's running the meeting.
Yeah, be on the website.
Yeah, it'll be there. We got it. Go ahead.
So I only have one question because I want to make sure that this is we're not gonna run into the same problem we run into the last meetings, but figure out, you said we didn't get anything accomplished, I beg to differ, we did, from what you just said, we made some agreements on things that we wanted to move.
But that's only for this fiscal year, which is already
Oh,
budgeted
that was
for,
for 2022?
yes.
Okay.
So we've accomplished
We,
nothing.
go ahead,
in the future.
Marlon, we gotta
So there's one more piece that I
We
had,
haven't
the
taken
four
projects.
projects that we prioritized, I don't remember that being read back in the.
That's gonna be functional at our next meeting.
Well, see, if we all were in agreement on that, that saves us some time. That's what I was getting at, because those are big tickets. Except,
I think that's. confusing, but they
And you
want-
actually have not picked the projects for this year.
okay,
David?
okay. Then the motion, can you read it back again?
The motion was to raise the assessment,
Hypothetically.
hypothetically to $1,500, look at the priorities, camera, pool, trail, securing the neighborhood, and lighting, the light fountain in the business. Motion was then amended to say have the spreadsheets available and updated copies for supervisors for next month's meeting.
And can I just clarify, can we have these updated like in the next week?
Yes.
It doesn't do us any good to come into the meeting and
And
pick
try-
them up then. Yeah.
Go ahead, Marlon, quick.
Just to talk about that, so this column G in the spreadsheet here, 1,500. We're gonna have to send this, you're gonna get basically this column here, because you're gonna need to know for 1,500, when we raise this amount of money, updating it with this new spreadsheet information of expenses that Mark and Adriana did at 8%, 5%, et cetera. These numbers here for the projected expenses for each fiscal year will change, and then you'll be able to see the available CIP funds for each of those 5 years on the horizon. And that's what this 1,500 will do, and you'll be able to have to fit it within whatever projects you do within those numbers. So you're gonna get an updated column G.
All right, and so let me say this real clear. I think we accomplished a lot because I do better knowing where we're at. Because if we all sit here and discuss what plan and we keep moving back things 2 years, we did that with the playground, we kept moving it back, that doesn't accomplish anything. But if we all know we're gonna be at a set number, then we can say, that's getting pushed way back. So I think it's gonna go much faster, but I think that's an accomplishment in itself.
We have a plan,
We have a plan.
we gotta work the plan.
So, Dave, you ready? I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Dave, you there? Opposed? Well, it's 4-0.
And this will be the reality check. This will show us at that 1,500, do we really need that money or not? And if not, we can always go back. Okay,
And,
but,
and when will the next meeting be?
January
first Tuesday of the month.
So do we need a motion for our next meeting to say
No, it's January 3rd. Motion for what, Ron?
January 3rd that we're talking about the CIP plan?
No, I'll just put it on the agenda.
It's just that that's gonna take the bulk of the meeting.
I just want that.
It's the 4th.
That's fine, and I can put it on the agenda.
Unless there's some emergency or something blows off somewhere, I just want the CIP plan.
And that's 6 o'clock.
That'd be a 7.
It's a regular board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'd like my 1 minute. My wife and I, we're retired. We do not live in the village. We live in a different neighborhood. We support the movements. And we don't use the basketball courts or the tennis courts. We don't use the playground very little. We don't use the soccer field or things like that.
All right, thank you.
I don't use any of it myself.
All right. With that being said, do you want to hear this or do you want to wait? Or-
Yeah, that's,
I'm asking the board.
What's the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I think we can
All right.
start, because we've broached it before.
All right, go ahead.
What you
If
look
we
up.
want to hear about the stuff that she's researched and found out about loans and bonds and stuff.
What we want to consider when we're looking at the CIP on line 141 is also if we take out a loan now, if we request $1 million, that's at a 3%. I went for the higher end just in case, 3% for 15 years. We essentially, we could save money, preferably just to make a payment every month. Annually, we would be paying $82,869 for this loan. We would save $17,000 if we made a payment monthly. with the total interest of $243,000.46, would be the total interest throughout 15 years. Now, we also have to keep in mind that there is $30,000 to $50,000 in ordination fees that we would need to account for in this as well.
Have they clarified how they determine, I mean, that's a pretty big range for origination fees.
It will get determined based on the people they need to hire for this. So legal counsel, the writing of the documents, the reading of the documents, how much that.
It's
So
all
there's,
lawyer
yeah,
fees.
there's no set number because of that. And then the financial advisor fee, the trustees fees. So there's a lot of things that are incorporated into that amount, so they can't give us anything set until we send out a bid for a loan. We also,
How's it paid back? How do we pay back that loan? But through the
Through our regular
assessment?
assessment.
through the
Do our
regular assessment.
assessments.
We have also considered, if you look on the back of the main spreadsheet, we would need to set up a reserve account so that we don't get hit 7 years from now with the resurfacing of the pool, maybe setting aside $27,000 to go into that. So we can say 27,000 and 82,000 annually to fund this loan. That would reduce our CIP expense on line 141 by almost $110,000 every year. So that's one thing we need to consider as well.
So you pay 40,000 at the high end to save 110, but minus the 40,000 is what you would say.
Well, and the, I mean, I hate borrowing money with a passion, but if you pay 3% versus the
Yeah, the cost.
escalation of expenses over the next 15 years for these things, I think that's where we have to look at the.
And I can tell you, and I want them to hear me, raising the assessments has been hard on me and I've lost sleep over it. I'm not coming back here as a board member saying, okay, we gotta go to 2, it's just not,
Sabrina, you were
it's not
saying
in
that
my cards.
This 3%, we've committed to it for the duration of the 15 years, but the actual escalation that happened just this year was more than 3%. And I believe over the last several decades, the cost of living is somewhere in the 2 to 3 range. It's been.
Yeah, but it's
hovering.
over 4 or 5
But
right now.
now it's up, that's what I'm saying, so the cost of living from
It's
the government
8%.
standard is higher than that percent. So the only issue is, will our savings and the cost to the 50,000, if it is, to borrow the money, it sounds like if we had to make the decision today, that's a smart thing to do.
And if you could do the trail in 1 year.
Yeah, we can get the trails
stretching it
up.
out year after year after year.
So you don't have, oh, this section's good, but now.
Yeah, but we still can't afford that at 1120.
No, I didn't say anything
Oh,
about
okay,
it.
I was gonna say.
I'm only talking about just the dollars it would take to do the projects if we borrowed it at 3% and we waited and only did it over, I don't know, 5 years trying to get it done over what we could do through our assessment, whatever that assessment is, just through revenue. It makes more sense to get the trail fixed all at once and pay 3%. Because if we waited, the cost of concrete could go up 10% and we won't have it.
Go ahead,
So
Mark.
you would borrow the money, do all of the projects,
Not all the projects, but at least the trail,
Wow, the big.
the big ones.
the big ones, all at one time, and you would save what the price, how the price goes up over the next 5 years.
That's the gamble.
That's the game.
Is it, the cost of living gonna be more than?
But you have to remember, we can't borrow that at $1 million at 1120. We wouldn't be able to make the payments.
What would it take?
That's what we have to figure out.
That's what we have to figure it out.
So.
Go ahead, Marlon. He's had his hand up. Go.
Just noting one thing, that's been, why 15 years?
That was,
We talked about doing the trail in 5 phases, I think it was, over 5 years. So why 15 years?
to keep the payments lower.
Yeah,
But the flip side of that is that you're now also, I know we talked about the plus side in terms of the savings or whatever, but you are also taking a chunk out of you're incurring those expenses. That's money that is now locked in for years, 10 years or whatever, which is now not available because it's already been used to pay off this. So
And
I
then
give
we're
the
gonna go up
extreme,
again,
pardon?
and then we're gonna go up again.
And then you can potentially run into it again. What I don't want to do, and the reason I said that way is because there was somebody here before, you remember, he was like, oh, you just get a loan, you know, if you will. Oh, interest rates are low. I get that. Let's throw that to the extreme. 0% credit card. We can pave the trail with a yellow brick road and make it gold. All right, spread it over 100 years. We can do that, and we can do all the other projects too. Everything is great. Of course, now you're also burdening for umpteen years with that nut that you're gonna have to continue paying. So what I don't want to do is to have a long horizon so that we can pay for things that we really can't afford. All we're doing is just burdening the future people to pay off that money. So if the argument is, oh, well, the payments will just be less each year. Yeah, but you're also increasing the amount of money in future years. You have less now, but you're more later. So now when something else comes up in the future, you already allocated some money to pay off this debt that was incurred way back when. You know, 10 years from now, because we say we're all in this together, well, I'm thinking of the people not just sitting here today in this room, in this community today, but also the people who are going to be moving in years from now, who are going to inherit something, say 10 years from now, something that was decided now. So I just don't want to be willy-nilly in terms of doing a long horizon. Because yes, we're talking about the short term. Oh, it's shorter, less. Yeah, but over there it's more. That's the flip side.
All right, Sabrina, go
Our
ahead.
other stipulation would be there be no prepayment penalty. So anytime we had excess monies that weren't used, we could pay a chunk off. If we borrow $1 million, do they give us the million and we can put it in the bank and we draw from it as we need? Yes. So we've got the money. We
You
pay
can
for
still
our
adjust.
projects, we're making interest on the money, and we can pay it off if we.
If we can do that, then we could also take out the loan for 5 years.
But it's better to take it for a longer term and then pay it off than have a too short of a term and not be able to make the payments.
Or to have to raise the assessment too high to make those payments. So there's a balance. Maybe it's a 10-year note.
How long was the CDD bond?
20 years.
20 years.
Yes, I could argue that.
But but Marla, I know what you're gonna argue, but I'm telling you, if you, let's say you squeeze it down to 5 years. Well, we have people here tonight that don't like the 1,500 assessment. You would have to be more than that.
We don't need to borrow.
We don't need to borrow, you know what I'm saying?
I get it.
I mean, 2 plus 2, you said it tonight, is always 4. It's always gonna be 4.
Yes.
But you're looking at 15 years instead of 30 years, like most people do their houses, or you go down to 15. 15 years is not that long of a time, believe it or not. It's not, in the world of money and finances, it's not that long.
I think what Marlon is trying to make us cognizant of, don't use it as like a credit card to just go use stuff that we don't need to.
No, I agree with that, but I think you guys are gonna be shocked if you do borrow, it's going,
We can do things now.
and do it now until at 10%, 4 years
I
from
get
now.
it in terms of saving the anticipated escalation in costs over the next 5 years. If the anticipated cost of this going, the trail, let's say, is gonna go 8% a year, I'm just making up a number, over the next 5 years, and we can borrow money at 3% and do it all at once, hey, that makes sense. But if all we're doing is, we're just taking out a whole lot of money and we're just spreading it out over a future period of time so that we can ostensibly afford something that we really can't afford, we're just burdening the future generations to pay off the nut.
I don't think that's the case.
We're not, it's not like we're funding a luxury, we're funding something that's a big
Exists.
necessity right now.
That exists.
Because if something,
Mhm.
you know,
No one
on the
really
trail, it could lead to putting the district in a bad situation, our liability is huge with that trail.
I understand that.
So-
That's why I'm asking why not 5? You're saying 15. I'm saying those 10 years are, and you're.
If
putting
we
it-
fund it for 5, the payment is going to be a whole lot higher than what it
Yes.
is right now.
And if you
So-
make it 15, it's gonna be a whole lot higher for the next 10 years.
But if
can
we
we do
put the
this?
payment higher now, in 5 years, we will be cutting 50% of the projects that you guys want to project of why we're increasing the
And
assessment.
can I say this, though?
You're spending 10%, and for those 10 years, you're taking out of money that we would be able to spend on things.
Right, but let me ask you this, say you raise it hypothetically to 1,500, that's secure for a long time. If you took out, you see what I'm saying, then people don't have to worry about it going up for a very long time.
I believe that the maintenance on the concrete is going to be way less than the asphalt was. Right?
But you understand what I'm saying?
When
And
we
then we don't have to
had
come and do this again.
when we had the bond issue, it was 66% to O&M, 34% to the debt service. When we were strapped to that, we could not do anything, any of the projects. We were pushing things. I mean, look at how long we had to Band-Aid the pool equipment. And if we do in a shorter amount of time for such a great amount of money, it's going to put us back in that situation again.
Right, and if we take out a substantial amount of money and extend it over future horizon, just like the bond, you said was 20 years, then you have already allocated over the next 10 years subsequent to the time of the trail, an amount of money that is not going to be available to do other things.
Why don't you
You
do a
can't have it both
5-year
ways.
scenario and we do 10 and 15? And then we'll know, because you're right, we have to allocate that loan repayment as part of a budget line. I
For
know.
CIP.
You know, that's committed, that's carved
That's
out
the
of our
CIP.
budget. But just let us see what the 5, 10, and 15-year options are and how much that leaves us left over to do other things.
And then let's look at that full reserve, because you're putting in 27 a year to 2030, right? And that generates about 200. How much does that generate in 8 years? And then you probably need to turn right around and keep that funded each year at a lesser amount, so that we have 20 years to build that amount. When it's not
Something that's 216,000.
216, so we probably need to go,
It makes sense to have that as a reserve.
we probably need, yeah, that needs to be a permanent line in our budget, I think, because that's the biggest reoccurring that we have.
But that way we can make sure, because I think the argument is well made, that we don't want to borrow more or longer than we need to. So we want to make sure we do it appropriately, so we don't fall.
I totally agree.
And that's where I'm bringing that point up to factor into this one, because that's going to be an every year cost. So I think that 27 is good, but that's 116 is not enough. So we're just going to have to go to 20 or 33, maybe another 3 years to raise the full amount needed. So if you're doing a 10-year loan, what I'm saying is you're going to expect that cost for 10
Right.
years.
I need to get going.
200,000.
Do you have anything you need to vote on that?
No.
Well, and also, can we make it available where people say, this date it was X $100, yes, we had to go up, now we have to go up for these reasons. You know, because people are more apt to say, yeah, because look what we're getting. You know, I mean, to make the normal person within areas say, yeah, 1,500, okay, we gotta go up, only $500 a year, so, but look what we're getting. You know, on the website, if we're presenting this to the residents, over 800 people, you know, you gotta explain to them, what are we getting for it? You know? Because sometimes they don't wanna go-
I can answer, we are keeping our amenities and keeping them up to date. And that's the simple fact of it.
And I understand that, I'm saying that when we can go to like our residents or like in your little Hampton or, you know, wherever, Lexington or whoever, when you have a proactive person, they say, look, you know, we really need to get behind this, guys.
We need our advocates.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so distraught, we don't have anybody here.
Man, I've been on the board 7 years now, and we say it all the time. It's much better when we have an audience and we get input. It really is, because it reassures us that we're doing the right thing. This right here, and I'm ending on this. This is terrible. That
We'd
we,
rather do anything else.
I'd rather, this is terrible because I know I'm fixing to be retired this year myself. And I understand that. And you know, at 51 years old, I'm going to be retired, and I don't want cost of living and everything go up. However, I like this neighborhood and I want it to stay the same because I'm staying here. So whatever we have here now, I hope the community keeps up. And that's why I joined the board. And unfortunately, in this United States of America, everything has gone up.
And that's understandable, but people are just complacent. It's like, no, you know, this is your environment.
This'll
This is
help.
where you.
That'll help. That'll help.
Exactly.
See exactly what the costs are, what year we want to do it in.
And I will tell you guys this, if you're retired, come to the committee meetings, because it's more one-on-one with Mark and whoever the chairman is. And that's input, and then people will go, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. You know, what people don't realize, we have to follow strict guidelines. And today we went way off rails and track. And that's on me as the chairman, and I accept it, but you come in here and I'm like, we're gonna put all these numbers in and we don't even know where we're going. We have to know where we're going before we can pick. Right? And so this should have been done. I hate to tell you all this, but probably the CDD should have probably never been paid off. It should have been borrowed against, and
We should have done an increase.
It should have done-
long ago. We
yeah,
did
it should have
ourselves
been
a
going
disservice
up,
by not
but-
Raising it in those 20 years.
we're the only people that have paid it off in all of Hillsborough
And never
County.
raised assessments.
So, but I want to, go ahead.
Just a quick one, and Mark, just for public consumption, how do our amenities compare to communities of a similar size?
There really isn't a similar size. We have some that are similar that have hardly any amenities. And that's predominantly what's being developed in the last few years. I think because of land costs, et cetera. Maintenance costs being what they are, developers cognizant of that. They're not putting in this level of amenities. And then we have some that are somewhat comparable, but they're running $1,800 a year.
I say that
Plus,
because
or in the 2000s a year.
Yeah, but there's neighborhoods now that don't even have pools or anything.
That's what I'm saying. not
And
building this
they're
level of
2,000 and 2,200.
Yeah.
Go down Riverview Drive all the way out to Boyette. They don't have pools or anything.
and I know we gotta go, so let me
Yeah.
just finish on this, if I may. But I just wanna say this one thing, like, in the same vein as I was saying in terms of taking out a loan, if you will, I know it's a bit of revisionist history, if you will. But arguably, we could say that we're over amenity, if you will.
For our size.
Because they took out a loan, they took out a bond, we paid off that bond, if you will. But we have since inherited the fact that we need to maintain those amenities going forward, right, Rob? And so we're looking at the baseball field, which is another 60,000, and the soccer field, which is another 45,000, and tennis court and pool and all these other things. We've inherited that.
Right.
So I'm sensitive to trying to burden the future generation for paying for things that you can't really afford. We've inherited the maintenance of all those amenities. There aren't other communities of a comparable size with this number of residents relatively small compared to others, with all these amenities who have now this burden. So we're going to take out a loan, if we talk about 15 years or whatever, allocate a certain amount of money over the next 10 years, but we still haven't talked about the baseball field, soccer field, and all those other things, which are still going to come up. We're just pushing beyond that 5-year planning horizon, right? But at some point, we're gonna have to deal with those as well. So I'm just really wary of trying to whatever, I'm trying to pay it, pay as you go, I don't know, cliche, but I just want to be really sensitive to that. That's all.
Sounds good. All right, motion to adjourn.
Which is a couple of things, which is why it is very important for us to plan as a master plan so that we don't end up undoing something to get something else done in the future. We have to look at everything comprehensively in terms of land, physical.
So Mark is talking
drainage,
about,
et
we
cetera.
have to have a master plan and we have to stick to it.
Because you start with the dog park and with drainage involved. We have to plan for future. If we're gonna do those fields, then it has to tie in, it has to go somewhere.
Right.
It
If
can't
you
go
move
off
the
our
dog
property
park,
and-
for the board's sake, if you move the dog park, because besides villas and what y'all have, other residents, you have to adjust the whole playing fields
But
and
then
all
you
that.
gotta look at how many people use the dog.
It's actually the.
I mean, come on.
For the amenities.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a soccer team. Do we have a
No,
softball
no,
team?
they-
All right.
I mean, you have to look at it
Baseball field,
realistically.
All right, Dave, we're calling.
Yeah, Chairman,
Then why don't we get rid of them?
Wait, we've got.
Chairman,
We gotta,
yeah,
Go
can you
ahead,
hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
you're loud.
Okay. All of the amenities in Lake St. Charles increase the value of our homes. So everybody in our community, if you've seen anyone that's been selling their homes, I know that the single family homes are going for over $400,000. And that's not just because they're in a great location, it's because of the amenities that we excel. And I don't think it is a burden to maintain amenities that increase the value of our homes. That's what we're here to do.
And you'll realize that either through a reverse mortgage or a home equity loan or the sale of your home, you'll get whatever assessment tenfold back.
You don't have to use it to be able to have the value of it.
And they walk their dogs.
All right.
As it is.
You ready? All right, Dave, I motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
All in
Aye.
favor? All right, meeting adjourned.
Do you have a board motion to proceed with the grant?
Yeah, you did last week.
Yeah, it's not golf course. What's the amount?
I know, but we did last week. Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Yeah,
No, we didn't.
I thought we said go ahead and look at
We
it.
should look at it, but we didn't want
I have to have a photo on record to submit.
What did you get for $5,000?
They can do the entrance island.
My concern was,
The total cost is 11.5. Rank number 5. So it's 6.5.
so what are we not gonna do on this list because we're putting $6,000 in?
Can we just do this in the meeting? 'Cause
I should turn it off since you guys already motioned to adjourn.
Right.
Yeah. And the deadline is this Sunday. It was this Friday, they've extended it to Sunday at 5.
So you're saying we can't do anything for $5,000 flat?
Swim classes,